The rain had been falling for 3 days straight, turning the barren red valley into a sea of mud. Ethan Cole sat inside his broken-down rover, staring at the blinking red light on his scanner. It was supposed to be a routine salvage trip. Collect scrap, trade it for food, survive another week. But that blinking light, it wasn't normal. It was a life signal. He rubbed his tired eyes. "No way," he whispered. "Nobody's alive out here." The storm outside roared like a living creature, slamming dust and rain against the rover. Ethan hadn't seen another soul for months, not since the evacuation ships left this planet. He was one of the few humans who couldn't afford a ticket off-world. Now, alone on a dying planet, he lived off old wrecks and lost tech. But this signal, faint, weak, buried deep underground, felt different. It pulsed slowly on his radar like a heartbeat. Ethan hesitated. Going out in this storm was suicide. But what if it was real? What if someone or something needed help? He checked his oxygen mask, grabbed his scanner, and opened the hatch. The wind screamed as soon as he stepped outside. His boots sank into the mud with each step. The scanner beeped faster the closer he got to the source. After 20 minutes, he reached a small hill of red soil, freshly disturbed. The signal was right beneath him. Ethan dropped to his knees, digging with trembling hands. Mud filled his gloves, his breath grew heavy, and thunder cracked above. After a few minutes, his shovel hit something hard. A metallic sound. He wiped the mud away, revealing smooth silver metal. Not human-made, alien design. His heart pounded. "Please don't be a trap," he muttered, prying open the surface panel with his wrench. Inside he found a transparent pod, half-broken, glowing faintly with blue light. And inside that pod was a girl. Her skin shimmered faintly, pale like moonlight, with small luminous patterns that moved under the surface. She looked young, maybe 16 if she were human. Her hair floated gently as if underwater. She wasn't breathing. Ethan's chest tightened. He'd seen dead bodies before, too many. But something about her face stopped him, peaceful, innocent. He touched the side of the pod, wiping away mud to see her better, and that's when her fingers twitched. He froze. "What the?" Her hand lifted weakly, pressing against the glass from inside. Her lips parted and a faint voice echoed through a broken translator speaker. "Please, help me." Ethan stumbled back, heart racing. She was alive, buried underground. For who knows how long. He looked around, no ships, no footprints. Whoever put her here wanted her hidden. He kneeled again, shouting through the cracked speaker, "Hey, stay still. I'll get you out." The pod's locks were fused shut, so he pulled out his torch and cut through the frame. Blue smoke hissed out. The girl gasped as fresh air touched her face. Her eyes flickered open, bright silver filled with confusion and fear. She whispered something in her language, but the translator only caught fragments. Siblings, betray, danger. Then her eyes rolled back and she fainted. Ethan panicked. "Hey, don't die on me!" He lifted her carefully, surprised at how light she was. Her skin felt cold but still alive. He ran back through the storm, clutching her close as the wind tried to tear them apart. By the time he reached the rover, his arms burned, his vision blurred. He placed her on the cot, covering her with his only blanket. As lightning flashed outside, Ethan stared at the alien girl's face. Who was she? Why was she buried alive? And what did she mean by siblings betrayed? He didn't know it yet, but that night, the night he dug her out of the red soil, was the moment his lonely, hopeless life would change forever. Because what he had just found was not just a survivor. She was a secret the entire galaxy had tried to bury. When Ethan woke up the next morning, the storm had ended. A pale sun struggled to shine through the thick red clouds. His rover creaked as the wind finally calmed and the air smelled of dust and metal. He turned his head and saw her, the alien girl, still lying on his cot, motionless. For a moment, fear hit him. Was she gone? He rushed closer and placed his ear near her chest. There, faint but steady, a heartbeat. "She's alive," he whispered with relief. He had seen many things on this dying planet. Broken ships, old machines, corpses frozen in the dirt. But never anything like her. Her body glowed faintly under the dim light, strange blue lines tracing her veins like flowing light. They pulsed slowly, like waves. Ethan poured water into a small cup and touched it to her lips. She flinched slightly, then whispered a single word, too soft for the translator to catch. He frowned. "You're safe now. I'm not here to hurt you." Of course, she couldn't understand him. He sat beside her, staring at the alien writing engraved on the edge of her pod. It looked ancient, curved symbols that shifted color when the light hit them. He took a picture with his old wrist device. "Maybe I can decode it later," he muttered. Hours passed. The girl finally moved again, slowly opening her eyes. They glowed silver, filled with confusion and fear. Ethan froze, unsure what to say. "Hey, you're awake." She tried to sit up, but pain shot through her body. She gasped and collapsed back. He held up his hands. Easy, okay? You're safe. You were buried underground. I found you." Her eyes darted around the rover, the metal walls, blinking screens, the human face staring at her. Then she whispered through the broken translator, voice trembling. "You are human?" Ethan nodded slowly. "Yeah, name's Ethan, and you are?" She hesitated, then said, "Leora." Her voice cracked like it hadn't been used in a long time. "Leora?" Ethan repeated softly. "Why were you buried down there?" Her eyes filled with fear. She shook her head. "They wanted me gone." "Who?" She didn't answer. Her breathing quickened, her hands trembling. "They will find me. My blood, my family. They will not stop." Ethan frowned. "Family? You mean your siblings?" Her lips pressed tight, tears shining in her eyes. "My brothers. They buried me, alive." Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. The words hit him harder than the storm. "Why would they do that?" He asked softly. Leora looked down. "Because I am different. Because I saw what they did. They killed others. Not enemies, not soldiers. Innocent ones." Ethan sat silently, trying to process her words. This wasn't just a lost alien girl. This was someone running from something dark. Outside, a soft beeping came from the radar. Ethan glanced at the screen, 2 small blips moving slowly across the valley. "Damn," he muttered. "Drones." He shut off the lights and lowered the rover's heat signature. The girl looked up, her silver eyes wide. "They are searching," she whispered. "For me." Ethan looked at her, then at the radar again. His mind raced. He should turn her in. The bounty on any alien tech was huge, enough to get him off this dead planet forever. But something in her face, the quiet fear, the loneliness, reminded him of himself. Left behind, forgotten, buried by people who were supposed to care. He clenched his jaw. "Not today," he said quietly. He grabbed his old pulse rifle and walked to the window, scanning the horizon. The drones hovered in the distance, scanning the ground with red beams. He turned to Leora. "If they find you, they'll take you back?" She nodded weakly. "They will erase me. Like I never existed." Ethan took a deep breath. "Then we'll make sure they don't find you." Leora looked at him, confused. "You would help?" "A stranger?" He gave a small, tired smile. "I guess I'm just not good at watching someone die." The girl blinked, surprised. No one had ever said that to her before. The drones moved closer. Ethan powered down the rover completely, hiding them both in silence. Only the faint hum of Leora's glowing veins lit the dark. For a long minute, they waited. The sound of engines passed overhead, and then faded into the distance. Ethan exhaled, wiping sweat from his forehead. That was close. Leora's eyes met his. "They will not stop," she whispered again. Ethan looked out into the red valley. "Then we won't either." Outside, lightning flickered again, far on the horizon. Somewhere beyond those clouds, forces were already moving, searching for the girl who was never meant to live. And Ethan Cole, the forgotten human scavenger, had just become her only shield in a galaxy full of enemies. The next morning, the world was silent again, too silent. Ethan sat by the rover's control panel, staring at the radar. The storm had cleared, but the 2 drone signals were still there and hovering miles away, unmoving. They were watching. He turned his head toward the cot. Leora was awake this time, sitting weakly, wrapped in a blanket. Her silver eyes followed every sound. The light from her glowing veins flickered gently like starlight under her skin. Ethan offered her a protein bar. "You need strength," he said softly. She took it hesitantly, sniffed it, then nibbled like she hadn't eaten in days. He smiled. "Not poisoned, promise." For the first time, she smiled a little, but it was sad, almost broken. "My people, don't eat this," she whispered. "But thank you." He nodded, trying not to stare. She was alien, that was obvious, but the more he looked, the more human she seemed. Her voice carried pain. Her eyes showed fear. He needed answers. "Leora," he said carefully, "those drones outside, they're looking for you, right?" She froze, her small hands gripping the blanket tightly. "Yes, they belong to my family's fleet." "Your family has drones?" Ethan asked. She nodded. "We are, or were, noble ones. My father was part of the Galactic Senate. My brothers were soldiers, strong, proud, until they became monsters." Ethan frowned. "What do you mean?" Leora's gaze drifted to the floor. Her voice turned cold. "They took control of our world. They began cleansing those who were different, those who questioned them. I spoke against them. I tried to help the ones they hunted." Her silver eyes shimmered with tears. "So they buried me, alive." Ethan felt his chest tighten. She wasn't just a lost alien girl, she was a witness, a threat to powerful people. Before he could speak, the radar beeped again, or faster this time. He rushed to the screen. The drones were moving fast, straight toward them. "Damn it," he hissed. "They found us." Leora's breathing quickened. "We must go now." Ethan grabbed his gear. "Can you walk?" She nodded weakly. He helped her stand, her legs trembling but determination in her eyes. Together they stumbled out of the rover into the red dust. The morning sky burned orange as the two drones descended over the cliffs, red beams scanning the ground. Ethan and Leora ran behind a ridge, crouching low. The hum of the drones grew louder, closer, mechanical and cold. Ethan peeked over the rocks, gripping his pulse rifle. "They're armed." Leora closed her eyes, whispering something in her native tongue. For a moment her veins glowed brighter, pulsing with blue light. The air around them shimmered faintly. "What are you doing?" Ethan whispered. "Hiding us," she said weakly. "They sense heat and energy." "I can mask it." "For a while." Ethan stared, amazed. "You can do that?" She didn't answer. Her body shook from the effort. The drones swept over the area, scanning the ground, then paused above the ridge. Ethan held his breath. One of them stopped, hovering directly above their heads. Ethan whispered, "It's not working." Then suddenly, the drone turned sharply toward the rover. It fired a plasma bolt and the entire vehicle exploded in a burst of blue flame. Ethan shielded Leora as debris rained down. "They destroyed it." She gasped. "They think we're inside." The drone circled once more, scanning the fire, then slowly flew away. Ethan's heart pounded as the sound faded into the distance. He let out a shaky breath. That was close. Leora collapsed into the dust, exhausted. He caught her before she fell. Her skin was burning hot now, her light dimming. Hey, stay with me," Ethan said urgently. "What's happening?" She whispered, "My energy. Running out. I need to recharge." "Recharge? Like, how?" She pointed weakly toward the mountains. "Crystals, there. They grow in deep caves, my kind. Draws life from them." Ethan looked at the horizon. Miles of jagged cliffs and red wasteland. "You mean out there?" She nodded faintly. "If I don't reach them, I die." Ethan looked at the burning wreck of his rover, then back at her pale face. He was stranded now. No vehicle, no supplies, no shelter. He had two choices. Leave her here and survive a few more days, or carry her into the wasteland and maybe die trying. He sighed and lifted her carefully into his arms. "You really are trouble, you know that?" Her lips moved weakly. "You don't have to help me," he smiled faintly. "Yeah, well, I'm bad at walking away." As the sun dipped low, Ethan started walking toward the distant mountains, each step heavy in the red dust. The wind howled behind them, carrying the echo of distant engines, the hunters still searching. But somewhere beyond those cliffs, buried deep within the planet's heart, lay the secret that could save her life, and perhaps destroy everything Ethan thought he knew about the universe. The sun had almost vanished behind the blood-red horizon when Ethan finally reached the edge of the mountains. His arms ached from carrying Leora for hours. Dust clung to his clothes and his lungs burned with every breath. But he didn't stop. Not once. Leora lay weak in his arms, her skin cold and her light fading. Every few minutes her lips moved silently, whispering something in her alien tongue. "Stay with me," Ethan muttered. "We're close." He found the entrance of a narrow cave hidden beneath sharp rocks and overgrown vines. The inside glowed faintly blue. A soft hum filled the air. Deep, musical, almost alive. Ethan felt it through his boots, through his bones. What is this place? He whispered. Leora's eyes opened slightly. The heart of the planet. The source of all energy. My people called it Sereth Cradle. He stepped inside, the light growing stronger with every step. The walls shimmered with veins of crystal, glowing blue and violet like frozen lightning. It was breathtaking. He set Leora down gently on a smooth rock near a cluster of bright crystals. She reached out a trembling hand, touching one of them. The crystal responded instantly, pulsing brighter, humming louder. Her body began to glow again. The veins under her skin flared like rivers of light, and her breathing steadied. Ethan watched in awe. It's healing you, she nodded weakly. The crystals hold life energy. My kind are born from it. He sat beside her, eyes fixed on the glowing cavern. I've seen a lot of weird things, but nothing like this. She looked at him, a faint smile on her lips. Your world doesn't have this? He shook his head. Our world barely has clean air left. We fight over scraps. Leora's expression softened. You sound like us, before the wars. They sat in silence for a while, the crystals filling the cave with soft light. It felt strangely peaceful, like the chaos outside didn't exist here, but peace never lasted long in Ethan's life. A sudden rumble shook the ground.
He stood up quickly.
What was that? Leora's glow flickered. Her voice trembled. They are near. Ethan turned on his scanner and his stomach dropped. Multiple life signals. Moving fast, your brothers? He asked. She nodded. They followed the energy trail. The crystals called to them. Damn it, Ethan muttered, grabbing his rifle. You're still too weak to move. Leora's eyes filled with panic. Ethan, if they find me, they'll kill you too. You must run. He looked at her, jaw tight. Not happening. She stared at him, confused. Why risk your life for me? I am not human. He gave a small, tired smile. You're alive. That's reason enough. Before she could answer, shadows moved at the entrance. 3 tall figures stepped inside, armored, glowing with the same light as Leora's veins. Her brothers, the one in front taller than the rest, spoke in a sharp, echoing voice. Sister, you should have stayed buried. Leora's voice broke. Kale, please stop this. Kale's eyes blazed silver. You betrayed us. You sided with the weak. You brought shame to our house. I tried to stop the killing, she shouted, tears shining on her cheeks. Father's order was wrong. Kale raised his weapon, a long spear made of pure energy. You speak of shame while standing beside a human scavenger? Ethan stepped forward, rifle raised. Back off. Cal tilted his head, amused. You defend her? A human defending an outcast of the high worlds? How noble. How foolish. He swung the spear, and a bolt of energy blasted toward Ethan. It hit the ground beside him, throwing him backward. Rocks shattered, dust filled the air. Leora screamed, her hands glowing. The crystals around her responded, bursting with light. The cave trembled as her power flared uncontrolled. Kale's soldiers shielded their faces, shouting in their language. Ethan crawled up, coughing. Leora, stop, you'll bring the cave down. She ignored him, her voice echoing with fury. You buried me alive, brother. You will not bury him. A wave of blue energy erupted from her body, slamming into Kyle and his men. They were thrown against the cave walls, their armor cracking. Then silence. Leora fell to her knees, her glow dimming again. Ethan caught her before she hit the ground. You okay? Her voice was barely a whisper. I can't control it for long. He looked at the unconscious aliens on the floor. Then we'd better move before they wake up. She nodded weakly, and he helped her to her feet. The cave trembled again, small rocks falling from above. As they stumbled deeper into the tunnels, the crystal's light followed them, guiding their path like a living force. Ethan didn't understand what these crystals were, or what Leora truly was. But one thing was clear, the galaxy wanted her dead, and now he was part of the fight. And somewhere deep within the cave, beyond the glowing walls, something ancient was waking, something that had been asleep for centuries, waiting for someone like Leora to return. The tunnel stretched endlessly ahead, glowing with soft blue light. Ethan's boots crunched on crystal dust as he helped Leora walk deeper into the mountain. Behind them, the sound of collapsing rocks echoed, a reminder that Kale and his soldiers might soon wake up. Keep breathing, Ethan said quietly. We're almost clear. Leora nodded, her steps slow but steady now. The deeper we go, the stronger the pulse becomes. The planet. It remembers us, Ethan frowned. Remembers? She touched a crystal vein running along the wall. It brightened under her hand, humming like a voice calling back. My people were born from this energy, she whispered. We shaped worlds with it, but when greed took over, the energy turned against us. Whole planets died. He watched the glow reflect in her eyes, beautiful, haunting, and now you're the last one trying to fix what they broke. Leora looked away. I tried once. They called it betrayal. The ground shuddered softly. A low rumble moved through the floor like distant thunder. Ethan raised his rifle. What was that? The heart, she said. It's waking. They turned a corner and froze. Before them lay an enormous cavern, wider than any city, glowing like a sky trapped underground. In the center floated a massive crystal structure, shaped like a heart, suspended in midair by invisible energy. Streams of blue light spiraled around it, flowing into the walls like veins feeding the planet. Ethan stared, awestruck. What in the stars is that? The core of Sarath, Leora said softly. It sleeps until one of royal blood calls to it. Her voice trembled. But no one has touched it in centuries. She stepped forward, light gathering around her feet. The air crackled as the crystals all across the chamber responded to her presence. Leora, wait, Ethan called. We don't know what it'll do. She looked back at him and smiled faintly. Neither does it. Before he could stop her, she placed her hand on the floating crystal. A blinding light filled the cavern. Ethan shielded his eyes. The air vibrated with a deep tone, like 1,000 voices whispering in harmony. Leora's body lifted slightly off the ground, her hair floating as streams of light wrapped around her arms. The crystal pulsed faster, brighter, alive again. Then a voice echoed, ancient and gentle, inside Ethan's head. Child of light, you have returned. Ethan looked around. Who said that? Leora's eyes shone silver, her voice overlapping with the echo. It's the core speaking through me. It recognizes you too, human. Me? Ethan's heart skipped. Why me? I'm nobody, the voice deepened. You carried the last of our kin through the storm. You carried hope when her own kind buried it. The light dimmed and Leora slowly lowered back to the ground. Her knees buckled, but Ethan caught her before she fell. She looked up at him, tears glistening. It showed me something, a memory. From before everything burned. What kind of memory? He asked. She swallowed hard. There was a prophecy about a world that would one day give shelter to our kind. A world of iron skies and dying suns. That world is yours, Ethan. He blinked, trying to process her words. Earth, you mean humans? She nodded. Your people were not created alone. The same energy that gave birth to mine touched yours long ago. That's why you could find me. Why you could hear the core. The ground trembled again, stronger this time. The walls cracked as energy surged outward. The awakening has begun, she said urgently. It's drawing power from the planet. Good or bad kind of power? Ethan asked, helping her stand. Both, she whispered. If it senses war above the surface, it will defend itself. A beam of light shot upward from the heart of the core, slicing through the rock ceiling. Ethan watched in shock as the beam reached the clouds high above, piercing the sky. Now they'll know where we are, he muttered. Leora's face went pale. Kyle will come with the whole fleet. Ethan clenched his fists. Then we'll fight. I didn't come this far to let him bury you again. She looked at him, eyes soft. You would fight an army? For me? He smirked. I've fought worse odds just trying to get dinner. Despite the fear, she laughed quietly. The first true laugh since he'd met her. But outside, above the mountain, engines began to roar. The sound grew louder, a storm of ships descending through the clouds. The awakening had sent a signal not only to the core, but to everything in orbit. Ethan glanced up at the collapsing ceiling. Looks like we woke the whole galaxy. Leora squeezed his hand. Then let them come. The planet won't let us fall. The cavern pulsed one last time, brighter than 1,000 suns, as ancient machines stirred deep beneath the crust. Machines built before humans or aliens existed. The core had truly awakened, and it would change the fate of both their worlds forever. The mountain shook like a living thing. Dust rained from the ceiling as the deep blue glow of the core flared brighter. Ethan shielded Leora with his arm as rocks fell around them. Above, thunder rolled, not from a storm, but from engines. The alien fleet had arrived. Leora pressed a hand to the crystal wall, her veins glowing faintly. They've locked onto the signal. My brothers. They're coming. Ethan gritted his teeth. Then we'd better make sure they don't find what they're looking for. He glanced at the surface map flickering on his wrist device. Dozens of ships circling overhead. The entire sky was swarming with them. Leora looked frightened but determined. The core is awake. It will try to defend itself, but it's weak. I must connect with it fully to control its power. Ethan frowned. And what happens if you can't? She hesitated. Then it will release all its energy at once, and the planet will burn. Ethan stared at her. That's not an option. She looked up at him. Then help me reach the heart chamber. It's below us, he nodded. Let's move. They ran through twisting tunnels, the crystals flickering like nervous eyes. The hum of the core echoed all around them, alive and restless. Outside, explosions rumbled as Kale's fleet fired plasma strikes into the mountain, trying to break through the crust. The air grew hotter. Dust and energy particles drifted through the corridors like glowing snow. Ethan led the way, his pulse rifle ready. You sure this is the right path? Leora pointed ahead. Down there, I can feel it calling me. As they entered a wider chamber, Ethan froze. 3 alien soldiers stood waiting, their armor reflecting the blue light. Kale's voice came through a speaker, cold and cruel. Human, you have something that belongs to us. Step away and I might let you live. Ethan smirked, aiming his rifle. You buried your sister alive. I think you lost your right to belong a long time ago. Before the soldiers could answer, he fired. Blue bolts lit up the dark. The first soldier went down instantly. Leora raised her hands, energy bursting from her palms like lightning, striking the second one backward. The third lunged at Ethan, blade flashing. Ethan dodged, grabbed a crystal shard from the floor and stabbed it through the alien's chest plate. The body fell with a heavy thud. Breathing hard, Ethan turned to Leora. You okay? She nodded weakly. You fight. Like one of us, he grinned. Guess you're a bad influence. They reached the heart chamber, a vast circular space beneath the core. The walls pulsed like veins, and streams of light flowed toward a central platform where a crystal throne stood, glowing softly. This is it, Leora whispered. Once I connect, the planet will fight back. Ethan frowned. Fight how? She looked up at the ceiling. You'll see. She stepped onto the platform, placing both hands on the glowing crystal. The floor beneath them trembled as light exploded outward, rushing through the tunnels out of the mountains across the entire valley. Outside, Kale's fleet hovered in formation, ready to fire. But suddenly the ground cracked open. Blue energy burst from the planet's surface, pillars of light that struck the ships like spears. Massive chunks of rock rose into the sky, floating as if the planet itself had awakened with anger. Kale shouted orders through the comms, but half his fleet was already burning, swallowed by the energy storm. Inside the chamber, Ethan shielded his eyes. Leora, it's working. Her voice echoed, layered with power. I can feel everything. The mountains, the air, the life beneath the soil. It's all connected. The core pulsed faster. Her light grew blinding, but then she screamed. Ethan ran toward her, grabbing her shoulders. What's wrong? She gasped, tears streaming down her face. It's too much. I can't hold it. He gripped her tighter. You're not alone! Focus on me. Her trembling hands reached for his. For a brief second, blue light flowed from her into him. His body felt like fire and lightning at once, his vision filled with stars. He saw memories, her world before the fall, her family, her laughter, and her betrayal. Then the vision faded, leaving only the two of them standing in the storm of light. Ethan looked up. The core's power was spiraling out of control. He shouted over the roar. What do we do? Leora whispered, her voice calm now. We merge. Human and Serath. Together we can balance it. Ethan blinked. Merge? As in... Before he could finish, she pressed her hand to his chest. Light flooded through him. The core's pulse slowed, matching their heartbeats. Above, the storm stopped. The alien fleet froze mid-air as the energy wrapped around the planet like a protective shield. For a moment, everything was silent. Ethan opened his eyes. The chamber glowed softly again. Leora stood before him, breathing hard but smiling faintly. You did it. We did it. He grinned back. Guess we make a good team. But outside, Kale's ship still hovered, the last and strongest. Inside the dark command deck, Kale watched the shield pulse across the sky and whispered, So be it, sister. If the planet protects you, I'll burn it myself. His ship's main cannon began to charge. Ethan looked up at the ceiling, feeling the vibration in the ground. Something's coming. Leora's expression turned grim. The final strike. She looked at him with quiet resolve. If the shield falls, everything dies. Ethan raised his rifle and nodded. Then we won't let it fall. Outside, Kale's warship aimed at the planet's heart and fired. The blast split the sky. The sky tore open. Kale's warship unleashed a beam of pure white fire, cutting through the clouds and striking the mountain like a sword from the heavens. The ground exploded. The world screamed. Ethan threw himself over Leora as the chamber shook violently. Shards of crystal rained from above and cracks raced across the glowing walls. Leora gasped, clutching her chest. The core? It's fracturing. I can feel it dying. Ethan looked up. The once bright light of the core was fading, its heartbeat slowing. Can you stop it? She shook her head, tears forming in her silver eyes. Not alone. He's draining its life. The cannon feeds on the planet's energy. Ethan's voice was steady now, his fear burned away by anger. Then we go up there. We stop him ourselves. Leora stared at him, shocked. That ship is a fortress. No human could. He cut her off with a small, crooked grin. Lucky for you, I'm not most humans. The tunnels burned with blue light as they climbed upward, following the rumbling sounds of engines and collapsing stone. Each step shook beneath them, but neither turned back. At the surface, the world looked like the end of everything. The sky was red and alive with fire. Dozens of destroyed ships floated above the burning valley, and at the center, Kale's flagship hovered like a black sun. Ethan's eyes narrowed. There's our target. He spotted a wrecked fighter nearby, half buried in the dirt. If I can get this thing working, Leora frowned. It's ancient, he smiled. So am I. Within minutes, sparks flew, engines groaned, and the fighter coughed to life. Leora climbed in behind him, her glow reflecting off the cracked glass. Ethan gripped the controls. Hold tight. The ship roared upward, trembling as it broke through smoke and fire. The flagship loomed larger and larger, its metal surface covered with glowing alien symbols. Kale's voice echoed through the radio, calm and cruel. You never learn, sister. You bring death wherever you go, even to the human who pities you. Leora's voice was quiet but firm. No, brother. I bring hope. Kyle laughed darkly. Then hope dies with you. Missiles streaked toward them. Ethan spun the ship hard, weaving through the burning sky. He's not making this easy. Leora placed a glowing hand on his shoulder. Let me help. Her energy surged into the ship, fusing with the controls. The engines blazed brighter, faster. Together they became a single force of light and motion. They dove straight toward the warship. Ethan pulled the trigger, firing plasma bursts that tore into the hull. The flagship's shields flared, then shattered. Direct hit, Ethan shouted. But then another beam charged. This one aimed not at them, but at the ground below. The core Leora's face went pale. He's going to destroy the planet. Ethan made a choice before she could protest. Then we end this now. He angled the fighter upward, heading straight for Kale's command deck. The ship rattled. Alarms screamed. Heat built in the cabin. Leora reached out, touching his cheek gently. Ethan, if we do this, we won't survive. He looked at her, truly looked, and smiled softly. Doesn't matter. You deserve to live free. You deserve tomorrow. She shook her head, tears shining. Then we both deserve it. Together they placed their hands on the control panel. Their energies merged again, human courage and alien power, and the fighter's body began to glow. Kyle's voice cracked through the speakers. No! The ship became a comet of blue and gold light, slamming through the flagship's shields and into its heart. The explosion split the sky in two. Silence followed. The beam stopped. The cannon died. In the valley below, the mountain still glowed, alive. For a moment, nothing moved. Then the clouds broke, revealing the stars above for the first time in centuries. Inside the ruins of the flagship, flames flickered weakly. Among the twisted metal, a soft blue light began to pulse. Leora stirred, coughing. She was lying inside a faint energy cocoon, the core's last gift. Beside her, Ethan's hand rested motionless, his face peaceful. No, she whispered, reaching for him. Please, wake up. but he didn't move. Her tears fell silently onto his hand, glowing as they touched his skin. The core's light shimmered around them, soft and kind. A voice echoed again, the same ancient whisper that once spoke in the cave. One life gives, another continues. Balance restored. Leora looked up as the light lifted Ethan's body, surrounding him with warmth. His chest rose slightly, one slow breath, before the light faded into the stars. She smiled through her tears. Rest now, human of Earth, you saved more than you know. Days later, the stormy world was calm. Kale's fleet was gone. The mountain glowed quietly, protecting the sleeping core. And high above, one ship, rebuilt from wreckage, rose toward the stars. Inside sat Leora, her eyes fixed on the endless sky. Around her wrist hung a small piece of metal, a broken badge with the name E. Cole carved into it. She touched it gently. "I'll tell them who you were," she whispered. "The human who stood against a galaxy." Then she smiled faintly. "And maybe one day, they'll remember." The ship vanished into the light, leaving behind a healed planet and a legend. The story of a man who found hope buried beneath the dust and turned it into the final light of two worlds.